Here. All right, so this is part two of how to get lean. I'll do a quick recap of part one, just so we're all on the same page and we're a little bit caught up. It's been a few weeks since we did the first version. If you didn't see the first seminar, it's on YouTube. I can send you the link for it. It's about an hour long. And I'll do a brief recap here, but to get more of the details or any questions on that, go back and watch part one. And then you can always follow up with me if you have more questions, things like that. So, so if we back up and take a quick look at part one of this and take a quick trip down memory lane, what we were talking about is there's a few different ways that we can get lean. And basically, those come down to two subparts. One is we want to create a caloric deficit. So, and we do that by reducing the amount of energy that we take in nutritionally. So we eat a little bit less, but meaning, well, I should clarify that. We don't necessarily eat less, we eat fewer calories. And then the second way that we create that caloric deficit is we move a little bit more. We increase our caloric expenditure. As well, if you can optimize your sleep in terms of how good the sleep is, like how much in that deep sleep of, REM stage, how much you're getting, with the quality, and making sure that's consistent every night of the week. That's another really good strategy in terms of helping you to regulate hormones and get lean as well. So when we talk about creating that caloric deficit, if we look at the bottom right-hand corner of our screen here, we're talking about calories in, calories out. We've probably heard that before. It just means the amount of energy. And if we are thinking in terms of imperial units, we'd say calories. If we're metric, we'd say joules. So don't worry, I might interchange the two units, or it might have slides that show units from research with either joules or calories. It means the same thing. But calories in, that's the amount of energy. Calories or joules that we're getting from the foods we eat. Calories out, how much energy, how many calories do our bodies burn over the course of the day from keeping us alive, something as simple as just basic metabolism to our occupations or what we do with sports and activity. So this is a little bit of the recap from the first one. In order to achieve weight loss, it can't be from dieting. Most of it's gonna come primarily from the nutritional end. And don't misunderstand when I'm saying dieting. I don't mean anything severe, extreme. I'm just saying it's a nutritional intervention, and the foods we eat make up our diet. So we refer to it, I'm referring to it in that context. But your goal and the results you're going to achieve, it's due to your nutritional changes, not so much the exercise. We can't focus on the exercise at first as well for somebody who's overweight or obese because they don't have the capacity to burn that many calories, because they can only expend maybe 300. So there's advantage to keeping workouts shorter, focusing more on the nutritional end. But we do see the best results when you combine nutrition with exercise for a variety of reasons. One is that if all you were to do would be cardio, like say, I'm just going to buy some running shoes and I'm going to start running 5K every day, that's great. It does increase your caloric expenditure, your physical activity. However, if there's no resistance exercise, you're losing a little bit of that fat-free mass or your muscle mass. And so that's going to lead to a reduction in our metabolism as well. So we want to make sure that as we're losing size and mass, we really protect and spare that fat-free mass. Uh, these are some of the strategies of people who lose 5% of their weight and they keep it off for over a year. Again, this is a summary from part one. They're seeing that they create a caloric deficit, they reduce their fat intake, they make sure they're getting their dietary fiber, they're getting some exercise, they're monitoring how they're doing, and they're eating breakfast. Other people that get great results, so 20%, you keep it off for over a year. And why is that? Because they go to a low calorie diet, they have a low fat intake, they're getting that exercise, they're tracking and monitoring, and they're eating breakfast. And the ones who don't succeed, well, they're underestimating what they're eating by maybe 20 to 30%. And that can happen in a variety of ways. So maybe it's somebody that makes the meals each night. And as you make them, you sample what you're making and you get a few calories that way. Or maybe you put down you're having 2, 3 cups of coffee a day, but you forget that, oh yeah, that's with cream and sugar. And when you clean the plates, the kids' plates, you'll finish what's on theirs as well. So there are ways that extra calories sneak in, and that's usually what happens for the people who aren't successful. So again, with long-term weight loss, the consistency is key. When they look at the people who follow healthy habits either during the week, only on the weekend, or do it all the time, the people who do it all the time, they're 1.5 times more likely to keep that weight off. So overall, some real general weight loss success tips of the people who lose 5% or more and keep it off. They don't eat fast food. They don't eat low nutrition food. They eat more fruits and vegetables. They monitor the exercise and they're monitoring their eating as well. So here we're going to start getting into the strategies that I really want to dig a little more deeply in with reducing that caloric intake. So when we eat a little bit less, it comes down to two main things: portion control or reducing that energy density. So the first one, portion control, that should be fairly straightforward. But the second one, I'll make sure to spend some time on that because that can be a little bit confusing and throw people. Because when we're talking about reducing energy density, most people, if we're talking about, and especially younger people today, it's all about positive energy and good vibes and living my best life and these type of things. And not to mock millennials and young people, but they associate energy as a really positive thing. And so when I'm saying, no, no, I want you to reduce energy, they kind of look at me sideways and they don't quite follow. And I mean energy in the sense of the chemical energy we get from eating food that allows us to move our bodies. Okay. So we want to reduce that energy that we're taking in. And that was confusing for none of them because they saw energy as a positive thing and good vibes. And why would I want less energy? Energy is great. Yes, it is. But nutritionally, we want to reduce it. So how much energy we really want to eat? It's quite a range, but somewhere between 1,200 to 2,190 calories per day. Okay. And those are averages. And so women, it's maybe around 1,200 a day, and men a little bit more, 1,500. The key point there is we're not looking for extreme reductions. Okay. Nobody should be on 1,000 calorie. Well, I shouldn't say no one. Very, very few people should be on 1,000 or 1,100 or even 1,200 calorie day per diet. That's very, very low. If somebody's under 1,000, it's not going to work for them. And same thing for men. They shouldn't be on anything that's much less than 1,500. So what happens is when not only do they not see the results in terms of the weight loss and they struggle to get lean, but when they eat start less, that doesn't provide the vitamin and mineral intake we need. So the nutritional content, the nutritional value of the food really suffers when you go too low calorie. So if we're looking to control portions, your hand, this is like the best tool that we have in terms of measuring up portions. And the first image on the left there, it's showing your protein should be kind of like the palm of your hand. I know it includes fingers there, but understand it's the palm of your hand. Okay. And next, we're looking at your starches. So this could be your pastas, cereals, grains, your rices, these type of things. And there's two fistfuls to make up your starches. Then if you have a scooped handful, okay, that's your vegetables and your fruits and vegetables, and where you get a lot of your vitamin, mineral, fiber from 3 scoopfuls of fruits and vegetables. And last to your thumb, that can be like your oils or your fats. Okay, so a pat of butter or some olive oil or something to season food and add on to it. But that's a real easy way to always be able to measure out your portions. Okay. So one of the ways that can really work, or a few of the top strategies, is to drink fewer calories. We want to always say eat fruits and vegetables and lean meats and these type of things, and drink water. Well, when we drink water, well, obviously we're getting 0 calories, so we drink fewer that way. Uh, but we can always consume calories more quickly when we drink them compared to eating. So if we're drinking water instead, that contributes uh, to an energy saving. The other thing too is drinks tend to be less satiating. They don't fill us up in the same way that solid food does. And they're maybe the research is starting to wonder, think that maybe the liquid energy, it might not be as well sensed by the mechanisms that tell us when we're full and to regulate the intake. So you don't want to opt for things and choose things like waters, coffees, and teas. And obviously the best would be if you could drink your coffee black, but minimal additives to it if you can go that way. Uh, Another thing that can work for portion control is portion control plates, and again, using your hand to measure out your portion size. But something like that, you think of the little kitty plates, maybe that they wanted to keep foods separate. And I don't want this food touching that, those kind of things, right? So most of us are going to eat based on a portion size. We're not going to eat based on the amount of calories. Like nobody should be going around and saying, memorizing the core content of every type of protein, carb, and fats, and it's too much. So instead, use your fist and your hands as portion size or plates, and smaller plates, you'll eat less. So it gives you some structure, and you're not having to think so much because your plate's already full if you have a smaller plate. So using smaller containers, a really interesting experiment comes to mind. This one's going back, about 17 years, but they had a number of people go into a movie theater and they divided kind of the theater in halves, right? Left and right. One side of the theater could have a large, kind of like a garbage pail full of popcorn that you would never finish during the movie. And, the amount of popcorn that was weighed before and after you were done, they weighed it after to determine how much popcorn did you eat. And the other side of the theater, they had a smaller bucket they could go and refill at the back as much as they wanted. Well, the people with a larger bucket, they ate more popcorn than the ones that had to go with a smaller bucket, had to go and refill it on their own. So smaller vessels, smaller cups, plates, bowls means you'll eat less. And they repeated the experiment and they said, okay, well, we'll have everybody have large buckets, but we're going to make it with stale popcorn. They still ate 33.6% more, even when it was stale popcorn. And by stale, I don't mean there was a movie yesterday. Can you imagine going to the movie and you want fresh hot popcorn and they gave you a bucket and it was from yesterday's show? This wasn't day old popcorn. This was 2 week old popcorn. Like, how gross is that? And then people still ate a third more because they had a larger bucket size. So, when you're going to have a treat, when you have an indulgence, the smallest cup, the smallest plate, the smallest bowl, whatever you can, order a small kid sized popcorn at the movies and you'll eat less. Okay. And over time, like if we look over the last 30 years, every type of food that we've been served is going up, so the hamburger there's up 90 calories and the fries are up 42. And look at the ice cream, it's up 186 calories. Like when you go through Costco and you see people ordering the ice cream cone there, those things are massive, right? And so nothing has changed. We're still going to eat one ice cream cone. We're probably still going to eat one order of fries. We're probably still going to order one hamburger when we go out, but understand that they are getting bigger. Okay. So the goal is not necessarily that I'm not trying to say to you like, oh, I guess we got to eat less food and we can't eat as much. Actually, this is now where I'll start getting into a little bit on the topic of the energy density. When you lower the energy density of your food, you can actually eat more and you'll lose weight. And it's a really interesting approach. So, for example, if you look here on the left, a Big Mac fries and a Coke is 1,300 calories, which is the same amount of energy as 18 apples. Now, there are probably almost everybody that goes to a fast food restaurant would eat a fries, burger, and have a drink. That's nothing unusual. And nobody would bat an eye to say, oh, yes. Well, maybe we would bat an eye. Maybe we'd be surprised and shocked. But a lot of people, not very many people could eat 18 apples. I like apples and I'll eat one. I doubt I would eat two, and I don't think I would ever eat three. There's no way I could eat 18 apples. But you can eat way more food when the energy density is low as it is in an apple compared to the amount of energy that's contained within a fries, hamburger, and a drink. You know, Again, here, look at where this is 4 pounds of food just chalked up in different ways. Okay. So we're saying over the course of the day, we eat 4 pounds of food. Well, that's 1 pound of salmon or a 9 egg omelet. Like I'll make a 3 egg omelet. I've never had a 9 egg omelet. A pound of boiled potatoes and 1 pound of Greek yogurt. Like I've never eaten any of these amount of foods, but that's 1,600 calories. Like that's probably 4 times what you know, if you had a 3 egg omelet or you had a quarter of a pound of salmon. But anyways, that's 1,600 calories, or 4 donuts or that bag of chips, big bag, 1,600 calories. So look at how much food when it's healthy and it's low energy density. Look at how much food you have to eat to get the same total calories and how easy it is to get when it's real high energy food such as donuts, potato chips, these kind of things. You don't have to eat a lot, and unfortunately, you're getting a huge whop of calories. So, what are some of the foods? Well, here, I'm sorry, I'll jump ahead a little bit. This is kind of I'm a little bit out of order here. So, when we're talking about reduced energy, what we mean is the amount of energy in a weight of food. So, um, that's determined by how much fat is in it and also how much water is in it. Okay. So if we want to reduce energy density of food, we either have to do one of three things. We want to reduce the fat content, we want to increase the water content, and ideally, one of this research here by Yao and Roberts, they found when people had low energy food, and one was with low fiber and the other one was high fiber. When they ate more fiber on a low energy diet, they lost 3.5 times more weight. So that's another important thing to include in there is, you're going to reduce the fat content, you're going to increase the water content. And by doing so with high fiber, you lose about 3.5 times more weight. So imagine like, I've got, my cup of water here. And if it's full to the top of water, or imagine if I had a milkshake full to the top, okay? Same amount in both, same volume, right? However, the water, 0 calories, the milkshake could be, 5, 6, 700 calories or whatever. So way more energy, high energy food. It's now a high energy density food if I have a milkshake compared to a cup of water. So the water content, that's the critical determinant to reducing energy density. So we said you either reduce energy density by increasing water content, decreasing fat content, or both, because the weight of the food is more content than the fat content. So, and we typically opt for foods that have fat in them because they taste better. They're palatable, Like when you're a chef, you make things better by adding sugar or butter, and it's also less filling. It doesn't fill you as much to have something that's, a fatty dessert compared to something that has maybe more carbs and protein in it. So, so we're eating that same amount of food in this study, but lower energy density. And the two foods or two meal plans that were isocaloric, and iso means the same. So imagine meal plan one, 1,000 calories, meal plan two, 1,000 calories in over 2 months. So you're eating the same amount of calories. Kind of going back to, let me back up my slides here. Maybe here, maybe you're eating 1,300 calories of fruits and vegetables and 1,300 calories um, of fast food. Okay. So isocaloric, does that make sense? We're eating the same amount of calories and we're doing that for 2 months. And then what do they find? Here's their result. Those who had the low energy density, so eating the fruits and vegetables, lean protein, they're losing 7.2 kilograms. The high energy density diet, fast food, in this case, we're using that as an example, lost 4.8. So they're eating the exact amount of calories, but if it's low energy density, it's healthier for us. It probably has better nutritional value. And then we lose about 50% more mass. Okay. I think that's kind of very fascinating, right? For me, it is. So we do that, we eat more and we lose more when we're on that low fat. So that's with fruits and vegetables versus just low fat alone. Okay, you lose more weight. So, that's how it does decrease that energy density because fruits and vegetables, what do they add? They add water. So imagine a bowl of chicken noodle soup and a same size bowl filled up with clam chowder. Okay. The chicken noodle soup, same volume of soup, but it's going to be much lower energy density because when you add in the fruits and vegetables and you can build it out that way, that decreases the energy density. And so they're losing more weight, 7.9 versus 6.4 kilos, but they eat 25% more. It's kind of getting back to this one again here. You eat a lot more food when you're on low energy density and you get a better result. Right? That should get us all a little bit excited to say, you know, you can eat more. The other thing about it was they had more satisfaction with the diet. They felt better. And they didn't have the same hunger cravings. You didn't have the same desires to snack. Okay. So let's just go up here now. If we're looking at sample foods that are high in water content, that's fruits and vegetables. So some of the best ones, cucumbers, tomatoes, watercress, apples, celery, lettuce, watermelon, peaches, broth, and zucchini. Okay. So you want to put those on your shopping list. And if you start eating and cooking, incorporating these into your meal plan and your nutritional approach, you're going to be decreasing your energy density. And look at all the bolded items like fiber, vitamin K, vitamin A, antioxidants, these type of things. So very, very healthy for us as well. Uh, Foods that don't have much water in them, those are all of our packaged breakfast cereals, grains, dried fruits, vegetables, honeys, seeds, nuts, like things like trail mixes and that. So I don't want to say that these are good foods, bad foods, but which ones have more water content and which ones less. And if our goal is to reduce the energy density of our food, then we want to reduce some of the foods that don't have much moisture, terms that have more fat in them. Those are our nuts and our seeds, obviously our salad dressings and things that are processed, those chips, crackers, dairy products, saturated fats, these type of foods. Okay. So to summarize there, that the goal then, if we're going to try and reduce how much we eat, you do it by eating with a smaller portion. Remember the popcorn study? Use smaller cups if you're going to have a milkshake. Get the kids popcorn if you go to the movie. Have the smallest bowl of popcorn. Better yet, go out and have one and order kid size. And then in terms of energy density, you achieve that by one, you reduce the fat content. Two, you increase the water content, and three, make sure there's a lot of fiber in there. But that got you a better result as well. So switching kind of to part two now, when we create a caloric deficit, remember we want to protect that fat-free mass. We want to hang on to our muscle mass, okay? And what they find is the people who, when they go in that caloric deficit, if they up their protein, they lose more weight, okay? So remember, here's this quick review from last time. One group, and this is when you're in a caloric restriction, somewhere in that 1,500 calorie per day. So when they're restricting their calories, one group had 2.4 grams of protein per kilogram body weight a day, and the other half as much. The one who eats more protein, they keep 12 times the amount of muscle mass compared to the ones that don't, and they lose more fat. So that's first piece of evidence. When you have 15 grams of protein versus 30, you're seeing more MPS, muscle protein synthesis. Okay. So if we have to break it down now and look at, excuse me, how much protein should we eat a day? So I've broken it down here. We can see 0 point grams, 1.2 grams, or 2.4. And these are all per kilogram of body weight. So, and then now the mass of the individual, if somebody's 132 pounds, 165, 198, or 231, I'm just throwing out some random numbers here for the mass of the individual. And you can, if somebody's 150, that's fine. Like you can email me later, and if you want, we can break down the math. But all it is here is to saying they're eating 0. Oops, sorry, go back. 0.8 grams per kilogram of body mass. So it's just 0.8 times 60 to get the 48. Or if they had 1.2 grams per kilogram body mass, it's 1.2 times 60 to get 72. And then this 2.4 is obviously double that. So this is over the course of the day. This obviously 2.4, that's where people were getting the best results. Okay. So you need to up your protein intake. All right. Uh, Now, if we look at, so again, for the 75 here, so just try and memorize this 75 or 165 pound individual here, 60, 90, and 180. So we'll look at that in more detail. And I made a typo there. It shouldn't be 150 pounds. I'm just catching that now. It should be 165 pounds for anybody that caught that as well. So if they are eating 90 grams or 100 grams, 80 grams of protein a day, here's what it looks like, you know? So if the individual is going to have the 90 grams a day and they had four, four meats like snacks and meals, like a breakfast, lunch, dinner plus one snack, they would just take the 90 grams and divide it by four. They're having about 22 and a half grams of protein at every meal times four. And they've got that 90 grams a day. Okay. And remember, going back here, 90 grams, that's equivalent to 1.2 grams per kilogram body mass. Um, if somebody was going to eat at the 2.4 grams of protein per kilogram body mass, that means over the day, they're eating 180 a day. And with three meals and two snacks, they want to get about 36 grams of protein per meal. Now, that is a lot of protein. You have to have a pretty good effort. So, where do we get that from? So some examples here, looking at maybe it's a little over 100 grams of chicken breast or a little over like a quarter pound, if 500 grams and 454. So it's a quarter of a pound of chicken breast or a little more than a quarter pound of steak, a little more than a quarter pound of salmon. Remember back, that previous slide. So I'm going to jump back again. Well, I won't skip through them all. Remember, I showed eating a whole pound of salmon. And remember how many calories came from that, right? This is going to be 100 calories you're getting from eating just over a quarter pound of salmon. Here, we're talking about just over, again, a quarter pound of ground beef. Cottage cheese, we're, less than a half, a little over less than a half pound or a half cup. Beans, Greek yogurt, obviously, cottage cheese is a good source. You get a little bit more than maybe Greek yogurt and more still than regular traditional yogurt. Four eggs, you're getting to about 6 grams. Make sure you don't throw out that yolk. For a while there, people were ditching the yolk. Most of the nutritional value is contained within the yolk. So definitely eat your yolks. Quest bars or whatever your favorite bar is, or a can of tuna, a scoop of protein powder, or some lentils. So there's a lot of ways for omnivores, vegans, vegetarians to get their proteins. Um, yeah, want to keep that one a lot shorter for you guys, but I'll do a little summary in the newsletter in the blog as well. If you, I'll post this link is also for you. But the key takeaways is we want to look to reduce the portion size, use smaller plates. Use a saucer instead of a large plate. Use the smallest cup. When you go out and you're ordering a treat or something, order that kid-sized popcorn or a kid's cone or whatever. And then the second thing we talked about, energy density, increase fruits and vegetables. That'll get the water content up. Let's increase the water content, but indirectly you do it by eating more fruits and vegetables. Decrease the fat content. Make sure that you're getting adequate fiber with that, and then now look to increase your protein when you're in a caloric deficit. So those are kind of the three main strategies I had for you guys. If you have any questions, feel free to unmute yourself. I'll stop the share here, so you don't have to worry. I'm not going to record you. And go ahead. I'm just curious if you have a question, or if you don't have a question, feel free to share. Let me know because it helps me for a few content. If something was confusing, if something was a bit of a aha or a take home moment for you, let me know what that is.